in the 2020 election.
What's good, YouTube fans? Day 18
pallets of his own brand
on the squats, on the calf raises,
assuring
40-pound dumbbell.
they're, quote,
Let's
you are
get
not forgotten. The 2024 candidate even stopping at a McDonald's to hand out MAGA hats to the staff. The trip a clear effort to draw contrast with President Biden, who just wrapped up an important trip to Ukraine and Poland. President Biden tweeted out this photo last night saying he's been in close contact with the governor of Ohio and the EPA administrator on the ground. But even those two officials leaning into the political showmanship, drinking straight from a tap in East Palestine right here, insisting it is safe. And facing mounting pressure, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg now planning a trip to the disaster zone as well. He's expected to land there tomorrow. NBC's Ron Allen has been covering this from the start and is on the ground in Ohio again for us tonight.
In the heart of East Palestine, Mike McKim worries how business will be when he opens his new winery next month. The fiery derailment happened just a few blocks away, and he fears may have ruined his dream.
We have a stigma here that we're dirty, and it hurts everybody here.
Like many in this rural community of 4,700 people, he's grateful for the national attention, though doubtful it will last. Today, former President Trump, running for president again, visited and slammed the Biden administration's response to the disaster in a county that gave Mr. Trump more than 70% of its votes in 2020.
We have told you loud and clear, you are not forgotten. You are not forgotten.
East Palestine now a political hotspot. Tomorrow, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, criticized for not traveling here yet, expected to visit, with the NTSB set to release its preliminary report on the cause of the derailment. Investigators have said they're analyzing security camera footage of the train before the derailment and looking closely at whether there was a mechanical problem with an axle. Meanwhile, Jan Douglas keeps her focus on her family farm.
It's my job to take care of it, and I'm doing the best I can.
Douglas fled to escape the smoke from the controlled burn-off of hazardous chemicals, and now awaits more test results on her soil and water, and hopes to plant her soybeans and corn soon.
I trust science. I know some science, and so we'll see where that takes us, and then we'll make decisions accordingly.
Meanwhile, despite all the emotion and anxiety, officials here continue to emphasize that constant testing shows the air and water are safe. Tom?
Okay, Ron Allen leading us off tonight. For more on the political fallout from the toxic spill in East Palestine, Ohio, we have two very special guests tonight. I want to bring in Dan Cannon. He's a partner and CEO of the Democratic firm ARC Initiatives, but he also served as the Obama White House liaison to the EPA during the BP oil spill. And Republican strategist and NBC News political analyst and a friend at Top Story, Susan Del Percio. Guys, thank you both for joining us tonight. Susan, I want to start for you. From a political standpoint, right, this was sort of a no-brainer for former President Trump. We can put up how he did in 2020 in the election. I think we have a graphic there that we want to show, basically. You see how he did this here. 71% of voters in the county where East Palestine is located went for Donald Trump. And then, of course, he shows up with J.D. Vance, who's the new senator of Ohio. So this made perfect political sense.
Almost perfect political sense. And I'll tell you why. Because you know what? They had to close down the school today because Donald Trump was coming to town. Donald Trump could have done everything he did and delivered those supplies, including, of course, Trump water. And he could have had it delivered. He did not have to go to the site. I look at those people behind the scenes, and they couldn't do the job they needed to do. And also, the thing that really irked me is that he never acknowledged Governor DeWine. And that just is because he doesn't like it.
But Susan, he's going to get all the media attention there, right? He's got the MAGA hats being passed. He's got the Trump water. He's going to grab those headlines, and they're going to do the split screen, right? I'm sure we even did it. You have former President Trump in Ohio. You have the current president obviously dealing with very important matters overseas, and we'll get to that as well. But this sort of works in Trump's favor.
Oh, absolutely. It definitely works in his favor. I see why he did it, but it was I just want to make sure it was completely self-serving.
Well, that's what I want to ask Dan about.
Not doing anything to help.
Dan, as I mentioned, you were the EPA liaison for the Obama White House during the BP oil spill, so you have a really unique perspective on this issue. Is it frustrating to see the former president turn this into a political circus down there in East Palestine?
I'd be frustrated if I was surprised by it, Tom. I think Susan's right. This was a no-brainer for him politically, but that's just it. It's politics. And what I will say, from the time at EPA to working for Governor Doyle in Wisconsin when I was there, to working on presidential campaigns, I've been through different environmental and other catastrophes and crises in communities. And if you're talking about having the principal go there for political reasons, you've missed the boat entirely. There's a response happening. There needs to be chemical and air and water and soil quality testing going on, testing in homes, community meetings, and liaising with the company, getting to work on a plan that EPA is administering, I think, quite effectively, using the authority under circle to hold the company accountable and taxpayers held harmless as a result. That's important work that happens that has nothing to do with politics. But when you inject the politics into this, you're taking the effort and the attention away from what's got to happen now. And by the way, this is not going to be done in a couple of days or a couple of weeks. There's weeks and months, maybe years of continued work in the community that EPA will be there for quite a long time. When I was working on the BP oil spill, we had a task force looking at the effects in communities along the Gulf Coast for several years after that spill. That work is important. That's the real response work. That's where the administration's focus should be, and not on the politics.
Dan, how hard is it? Because, I mean, you think back on the BP oil spill, and I'll never forget seeing that pipe just shoot those gallons and gallons of oil into the Gulf. I mean, how is it when all of the TV cameras from around the world are now trained on your area and just putting so much pressure on you? And on top of that, now you have all these politicians coming and going.
It's really hard. And in that instance, there were several states, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Florida, Georgia, etc., that were all part of the area that was affected by that spill. So, multi-jurisdictional, multi-state and local government response, many agencies from FEMA to the EPA, etc. The same applies here with Pennsylvania, Ohio, the Ohio EPA, the EPA, the National Health and Transportation Safety Board, etc. They're all trying to coordinate and communicate effectively to citizens. It doesn't help that Trump is muddying the water and whether the water itself is safe to drink. People need clear and effective communication right now, not people drumming up the crisis for political purposes. It is not the time for politics. Stand down.